All right, so my name is Freddie, and the next section will be building Spark applications. So Spark, you could program in Spark using 3 different languages: Scala, Java, and Python. And Spark itself provides 2 abstractions: as mentioned earlier, the resilient distributed dataset, now known as just dataset, and then 2 types of shared variables that could be used in parallel. One is called the broadcast variables, and the other one's called the accumulator. Every time you start a Spark application, every time you write a Spark application, you need to, of course, mention the configuration. And this is programmed in the command line before you even get to the text editor. But once you get to the text editor, you call your Spark objects, and in this case, this is in Python. And then you mention the application name and the master. This master tells the Spark application where to go. It tells it whether you're going to stay in the local environment or if you're going to be in a more remote environment. And then over here, this is initiating the Spark object. In the Spark package, there's also many other functions that you could use. There are many pre-built functions. For example, you could do a random sample of your data set. You could join data sets together. You could do sort by keys. So there are a nice variety of pre-built functions in there. And here we're just going to show you a sample of a few. So as mentioned earlier, the accumulator. So the purpose of the accumulator is to allow you to create a variable that would simply, that you can add a value to every time you run an iteration. So suppose you're wanting to add, in this example, let's say you want to add all these numbers together. The accumulator is what you're basically adding the numbers to, and then as all the process was run in parallel, it kind of shares this information with each other. So it knows that one process added 3, the other one added the 2, and the other one added the 4, and then of course at the end you get your end result. You could call the value at the end. This is parallelize is simply a function that takes a data set and distributes the data set onto different nodes in the network. Broadcast is a way of creating a global variable in your application. So suppose you want to have an array with 3 values in it. You can set it to broadcast, and what it will do is it will send that variable over to all the nodes in your network. And then you could always call that value. Another thing you can do here is you could create your own function natively in your language. So in here, this is in Python. I'm creating a function the way I would normally do it. But then I could conveniently use it using the the Spark object, and then it will sort of distribute this function across the network and then run the parallel processing without me having to tell it how to do it. All right, so my question is, given that we do have broadcast and accumulator variables, is it recommended to use global variables in Spark?
No, not even.
Correct. It is not recommended to use global variables because the behavior of global variables is unpredictable. So that's why they built these for you.